forward to working very closely with Tatarstan for that. Best Bulderabis.
Yeah.
We really heard and felt the voice of global majority. Nizhny Novgorod, nothing prepared me for what I experienced. Initially, I was like, why would they bring a forum to Nizhny Novgorod? Why not Moscow? Why not St. Petersburg? And then I realized that really historically, Nizhny Novgorod brought the world to Russia. In our region, we have the big four: Brazil, Nigeria, Pakistan, and Indonesia, all with an average population of 200 million to 2.75 million. So altogether, just these four countries comprise 1 billion. So we are a great market for technologies, for investments.
I really wish and see the great potential to integrate like Vladivostok because they have also their own technology ecosystem there.
Zvezda Holding presents Dynamic Spectrum Talks now.
Hello, dear friends. This is the Dynamic Spectrum Talks podcast. I am Anna Shafran, and this is my colleague Yuri Lendra.
Hello, everyone.
This is the place where we have an honest dialogue with people from different professional spheres and cultural backgrounds. We believe that this is the right thing to do if we want to break artificial barriers between peoples and nations.
Very true. And today I would like to talk about digital environment, our modern digital world. It's a very important topic because our daily life is hardly be possible to imagine without new technologies. And this time, let me glad in person. Christina Amor-Maclang, the co-founder and chair of IDEA, International Digital Economy Association.
I'm the Secretary General. We have a different chairman.
Okay.
Yes, okay.
Secretary General of IDEA.
Of IDEA.
Christina Amor-Maclang, and also a co-founder of this organization of IDEA, Dr. Alexander Titov. Welcome you to our studio.
Glad to see you.
Thank you so much.
Я очень рада. Very happy to be here.
Yes, and the first question is quite obvious. You came here to Russia, not just to visit us, but we are glad to realize and to imagine that this is the final goal. But actually, you came to visit Global Digital Forum that is recently was held in Nizhny Novgorod. So please share your impressions about the forum and what did you find there?
Sasha.
So we're very happy to take a part in Global Digital Forum this year, together with our members from International Digital Economies Association, other partners and friends. And we took part actually in several different international events held in Russia during last years. But we are happy to see that now it's opening for other provinces and regions in Russia. So foreigners can really learn about regional development and what's happening not only in Moscow and St. Petersburg, which obviously they're more familiar with, but they can see countryside and of course like million cities and beautiful cities like Nizhny Novgorod. And this year we were lucky to invite about 15 to 20 international speakers coming to the forum from different parts of, as we call, global majority countries, from South America, Ecuador, Brazil, from Africa, from Botswana, from Kenya, other countries, of course Asia, as ASEAN, like Philippines and Malaysia, Indonesia. So it was awesome experience.
Christina, how did you like Nizhny Novgorod?
You know, there are global forums and there are global forums. And the Global Digital Forum, most of the global forums we attend, sometimes there is a prevailing narrative or a prevailing voice, it's driven by a particular country, the agenda of a particular country. What really made the Global Digital Forum for me stand out was the fact that it really felt like of and by the global majority. We were able to meet friends from Burkina Faso, from Papua New Guinea. Imagine, I live so close to Papua New Guinea in ASEAN. And yet I had to fly to Nizhny Novgorod to meet a digital economy leader. I met friends from Iraq. I met friends from Burkina Faso. I met friends from Afghanistan. So although, the big countries who are represented in IDEA, like Brazil, Pakistan, India, were there, and we value Nigeria, we value their support. We really heard and felt the voice of global majority. And with regards to Nizhny Novgorod, oh my God, now my heart is torn. So after Moscow will and always be my first love. There's Kazan, right? So, I love Kazan. In my heart, I feel like part of me is Tatar. Just this morning, I met with my Tatar friend who brought me horse sausages. Hi, Camille. And but Nizhny Novgorod, nothing prepared me for what I experienced. Initially, I was like, why would they bring a forum to Nizhny Novgorod? Why not Moscow? Why not St. Petersburg? And then I realized that really historically, Nizhny Novgorod brought the world to Russia, being the original site of global fairs. And the people, it's not just the organizers who really supported us, but the people who were there. We even became friends with the owner of the hotel, a lovely Armenian family. And so, inshallah, in September, we'll go with them to Armenia. Yes.
This is how you make friends.
Through food and through work and through programs like Global Digital Forum.
Yeah, just a few figures. Now, as the forum has ended, we can do some calculations. So it was already in the media that representatives from 114 countries were at the forum, and the total number of participants exceeded 3,000. So it's indeed it was global forum. And as from my perspective, I realized that you rightly mentioned that every single country has an opportunity to express itself. So there was no any, let's say, mainstream agenda that everybody must follow. So from this perspective, indeed, it was a meeting among the friends and those who would like to become friends.
Yes.
Right. We met a lot of new friends there, and even from the countries we haven't met leaders before. And then we got the feedback from our leaders, and they were amazed. Actually, their feedback was very great about the participation. Yes.
We will share with you some of their letters. Some of them are really heartfelt and very touching. So thank you for making it possible for us.
So, Christina, in your speeches on the forum, you mentioned the standoff between the global majority and pro-Western minority. How does it affect digitalization?
So, it was a very emotional first session I had. I think it was Tuesday, because just the night before, there was an announcement of a certain country that they were going to issue travel bans. And they issued travel bans in, and I felt so emotional because it included many of our members from Pakistan, Sierra Leone, Congo. I mean, we were just in Congo to launch IDEA 2 weeks ago. And it was such an incredible place to do digital economy businesses. Bhutan, which is like the happiest place on earth, right, was actually being considered for a travel ban. So it was a sad time because even Laos was the chair of ASEAN last year. So many of these countries were all of a sudden included in a travel ban. And for what? Right? Who makes all these decisions unilaterally? And then I met someone from Iraq, and it was another emotional moment for me that really underscored the importance of this advocacy and this movement that we're doing. He said to me, and I remember his name, Brother Mohammed, he said, can you imagine an entire generation of Iraqi children being branded like terrorists? They've done nothing. And it's actually, and so if you're born into this era where there's all of a sudden a travel ban against your country, I think 20, 30 years from now, this will be considered a great injustice, much like how we look at slavery from before as an injustice. Judging people based on their passports, limiting the opportunities for children. I think we are all, most of us are parents here, limiting their opportunities just because of where they were born. I think 20, 30 years from now, our children will look at us and say, I cannot believe that these people did it 20, 30 years ago. So it was a very rich moment during Global Digital Forum. It really underscored why we're doing what we're doing. And so how is this affecting digitalization? I think digitalization will and always be the greatest leveler, right, of the playing field. What we're trying to prevent here is this new neo-colonialism. So, for example, you talk about AI, right? If the data sets are all coming from one region, then it actually prejudices other regions in the world. So it's very important that before we start saying big data, AI, quantum computing, we have to plan for the weakest link. So, will a country in Africa or in Southeast Asia be able to use AI when they don't even have digital records or digital ID? So I know, very intense, a lot to think about, but hopefully we can work with other countries that are hubs for technology like Russia to make access to these technologies a lot more democratic and accessible.
Great. You just said a key word, a hub of technologies. We know that this February you visited Hong Kong, and Hong Kong is to be considered also as, let's say, home of the global digital economy due to its high performance level in terms of digitalization and automatization. So, and beside, Hong Kong is a traditional center of finance of the region. And you also, let me quote, mention that Hong Kong implements regulations that foster digital economy and makes focus on digital assets and blockchain. So, this therefore, here is the question. What can Russia learn from Hong Kong, especially, to promote our digital economy in our country? Or we just go our separate way and this is also fine?
So you're absolutely right. We have chosen Hong Kong to be the home of IDEA. So we're actually registered in Hong Kong. What can Hong Kong actually teach the rest of the world, including Russia? Number one is its determination to democratize digital assets, right? So you're absolutely right. They are a historical financial hub in the world, and they realize that in order to keep up with the times, they also need to be at the forefront of digitalizing the financial sector so that, they don't become like, say, for example, like Switzerland. Switzerland is a bastion for traditional banking, but for digitalization, for fintech, not so much. Now, what can Russia potentially learn, not just from Hong Kong, but from other regions that have a very robust fintech ecosystem? I said in my talk in CIPR and also in Global Digital Forum that the development of fintech is inversely proportional to the level of development of the banking sector. So traditional markets like Japan, Russia, Switzerland they all have very solid banking background, right? It's different in Africa or in Southeast Asia, where the wallets actually are with a telecommunications company. We came from Africa recently, from Congo, Brazzaville, and many of the developments are coming from the telco sector. So that's one. Second is blockchain and digital assets. Crypto, digital assets is the language of the youth. So when you talk about global majority, our average age is 19 in Africa, 25 years old in Southeast Asia, and the financial language that they understand is blockchain and crypto. So you see markets like Hong Kong that is trying to keep up with legislation similar to Dubai because they understand that the youth are not going to go to the banks. They're going to transfer money to you through digital assets, right? They're going to tokenize the world, right? They're going to tokenize the world. They're going to tokenize your corn, your kartoshka, seriously, your rice, your eggs.
Any product and commodities can be tokenized.
Why don't you tell them about egg exchange?
Egg
Yeah,
exchange?
actually,
What is it?
it's
Oh
interesting
my God, they're
project.
from Pakistan, right?
Yes, originally, I'm not sure, but from Russia, I think from Moscow, this is a startup which now launching in Dubai. It's like a stock exchange based on agricultural products and particular eggs. Egg exchange is related to also digital assets. So it's, I think, such products, such projects in digital economy have a great potential for trade, export, and import activities. And I think Hong Kong, to mention, it's really a digital economy hub in Southeast Asia, connecting Northern Asia and, of course, China. So through Hong Kong, China speaks to the world.
Yes.
So a lot of, whenever we go to exhibitions or trade fairs in Hong Kong, we can see big producers of robotics, drones, and other technologies, smart city technologies coming from mainland China, where they exhibited and find the partners, international partners in Hong Kong.
It's interesting you mentioned about Hong Kong and Russia because there's something that I think we can mutually work on, which is the concept of low altitude economies. So this is the economy between 3,000 feet and up. So you talk about drones, civilian drones, how it's changing agriculture, how it's changing transport, how it's changing logistics.
So in their strategy, introducing like flying taxis in nearest years. So they're really moving forward with technologies.
Which we know is already being tested in Innopolis. In Batam.
Pilotless taxi, yes, but
Yes.
flying taxis, it is something I know it exists, but I've never heard that we are testing something like that.
Yes. But look at how, for example, we talked about AI. Drones, especially agricultural drones, can help derive non-personal data. That's important. I looked to, when last time I was in Kazan, I met startups who were at the forefront of precision agriculture. And we need that. We need that in the global majority. When we recently did a pitch fest for agriculture, many of those who participated actually came from Russia, even from Tatarstan, from egg exchange to milk and cattle production using AI. And we know that, was it just last May 9 when President Putin came out and yes, and he showed he was drinking kefir from Razan, right? And now I said, oh, I understand why there's so much technology even in milk production, right? So we need that. So many of the countries in the global majority do not produce technology, and it's okay. But if those technologies coming from Russia and other regions can be sharily freed, it'll be good
There's
for everyone.
a lot of opportunities to pilot technologies, for example, coming from Russia, in Africa, in Asia. And the recent example, we launched that project in Nigeria together with the Agricultural University and Accelerator Group, like investment
Apollo
fund,
Investment.
Apollo Innovation. It's a 100 hectares pilot area
Yes.
for testing agricultural technologies like agri-tech, precision agriculture, and also training for the farmers. So we really welcome agricultural technologies to enter new areas for them and to prove that their technology work successfully, and we can help with that.
So digitalization is not about just computers and AI.
It's automatization, I would say. It's
Yes.
another part of. As I understood you correct, so a fair large, let's say, proportion of a global majority, they do not produce the technology and do not willing to produce, but they are ready to accept those who can benefit their societies and their economies, including those technology that can be easily implemented in agriculture sphere and other, just in the production. So you bring drones, you bring AI just to scan, I don't know, for the diseases, to check how the
Health
plants,
tech, for example, even.
And it can boost local production, local quality of life, etc., etc. And they are ready just to, those countries, those societies are ready to stay within their current role. So if they get these technologies on a fair, equal basis without any prejudice, it's good. So everybody knows it's...
They're willing to learn. To exchange. So it's like a spirit of cooperation.
Yeah.
It's not like a sales, direct sales of technologies, which traditionally used in maybe Western or global world. So what we're trying to build is like a fair and equal and ethical exchange of technologies.
Sandboxes, pilots, your market. So maybe this is a good call to Russian technology companies. If you're interested to expand and globalize, let us know, let Yuri know and Anna know, to connect you to the global majority, because the temperatures are the same, the soil variances are the same, and it's not just for agriculture, it's also for health. Some of the best health systems in the world are here in Russia and in Cuba. By the way, I was so excited to meet the Cuban minister. You're there with us. I was in Cuba just a month before Fidel Castro died. And the way they describe the change from that time up to this time is incredible. They have one of the best health system in the world, which was actually based from the Soviet Union. And now when we were in Congo, who saw you in the hospital, right? It was...
they have a Cuban doctors working in Africa.
Cuban doctors, right? So looking forward to seeing this robust exchange, not just of ideas, but actual projects and pilots.
Yeah, and we work with the local partners and also regulators, government representatives, because it's very important to deal directly with local people on the ground.
40% of our partners and members are ministers of technology from all over the world. So it'll be good to have more exchanges like this.
So when previously you said about the epoch of new colonialism on the one hand. On the other hand, we have absolutely new way of cooperation between peoples and nations.
Yes, definitely. So I think we can all, I like what you said earlier, Anna, at the beginning, which is how do we break artificial barriers, right? And it's truly all artificial. For example, we had the Ministry of Communications and Digital from Afghanistan, right? The prevailing government of Afghanistan, we know, is the Taliban. But it's important that they feel welcomed and accepted in an environment that is willing to do exchanges with them. There's a lot we can learn from them as well. It's not just us teaching them, we can learn from them. So we need to create a multipolar ecosystem where everyone feels safe to have an exchange, right? So Iraq, Iran, Laos, Philippines, Nepal, Bhutan, many of whom we interacted with in Nizhny. So by the way, Nizhny for me is like now when people ask me, why not, right? It's really a great place to bring the world, not just Moscow and St. Petersburg.
It means that the next year we should repeat it again.
Inshallah. Inshallah. For next year, hopefully we can have more pitch fests, startups, have an exchange, right? Have an exchange of technologies. Don't worry, I have so many ideas for you, Yuri. I'll write it down as soon as I get back. Because I really felt that the global majority was there. Papua New Guinea, Burkina Faso, what beautiful countries. And we heard them speak, right? Freely. Yes. Thank you.
It's very beautiful that now we have absolutely beautiful time where people change their minds.
Yes.
Continue, please.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is just a start of a new type of doing business, because actually this is what Russia promotes as we see it in the BRICS, just equal dialogue. It's not necessary even to create some sort of structure that will be supervising the international activity. You see, like BRICS exists, there is no even supervising body within this group of countries. So everything can be sorted out through the dialogue. And I see, particularly in your organization and in your cooperation and communication with the other representatives of our multipolar world, that it is possible not only on the level of governments, but on the level between like people and businesses.
Yes, people discovered this thing.
But also not on the politics and technology. I have to mention culture also. Like during the Russia chairmanship of BRICS last year, we had the chance to be in Tatarstan, and I met the great Tugan Batir, which is basically a local hero of Tatar origin. And the community was telling me how they're crowdsourcing to do movies, to do comics, and to do books. So, nothing wrong with learning about Superman and Captain America and Marvel heroes. But I like how in the BRICS ecosystem, especially the civil society side, hello, Victoria Panova, who's one of our partners in BRICS, they are promoting local culture and local heroes so that we will be in equal standing with all of these well-funded Hollywood models, right? So there.
It's a trend, I think, happening now, global majority, and supporting indigenous communities.
Yes.
So even in those countries like Philippines or Brazil, there is a indigenous population, like tribal, or of course in Africa as well, tribal population. It's so beautiful. And now even technology coming to those tribes. So for example, in Brazil, our partners do a project. It's like a digital trade platform. They collect guarana in the Amazon forest. And actually they use it for soda drinks, kind of local Coca-Cola, which is very popular. And
it's like Morse.
Yeah, in this way, indigenous community can get wealth, so they can earn well money using technologies.
And we have partners like Hi Davison, Arthur. They're creating wallets for indigenous people, right? So that reflect the very need of those local communities. So we not only will see a more multipolar world, but a more colorful world, and will surface more food and more culture.
So it means that there will be less universal globalism, but more reflection of indigenous uniqueness. Yes. For example, you said, you highlighted nice example with Coca-Cola, but we understand that despite Coca-Cola is a nice one, there are a lot of different analogs, local analogs, and nobody hear about them because the global, let's say, mainstream agenda says, okay, no, Hollywood says that superhero drinks of Coca-Cola. Other drinks are not maybe they're allowed, but nobody will hear about them.
You know,
because
the
we're
first
talking
thing
about,
I do when I arrive here is buy Morse.
Morse, yes, it's very nice stuff.
And Compot, right? So why don't we bottle that? It's healthier, right?
Better, yes.
It's much better. Wow, it's you're absolutely right, and it respects and reflects our local culture. And instead of traditional sausages, I really feel like horse sausage in Tatarstan needs to go global. It's healthier. It's it's lovely, right? Don't get me started on food in Nizhny. Don't get me started on food.
So it seems that practically everyone had such kind of feelings about a beautiful multipolar world. So you mentioned Kristina Kazan several times, and on your page in one of the social networks,
you guys are good.
We did our own research.
You're very good.
Yes, you wrote that Kazan is one of your favorite cities, and hub for technology, innovation, multipolarity, and religion. Tell us, please, about your visit to Kazan and a few words about it.
So now Kazan and Nizhny is up there. after Moscow.
At the top.
At the top. So Kazan is very special. Last May 16, I did a keynote for the Islamic Forum, right? I remember very clearly because it was a day or two after our elections in the Philippines. And why this is very important is because when you talk about the global majority, you also have to talk about halal finance. Okay? And Islam is the fastest growing religion. I am not Muslim, but it makes it even more special that we are making a call for halal for all. The financial structures in halal finance, which Kazan can actually, Tatarstan in general, can play a very important role globally, actually creates a more equitable way to distribute wealth. Right? So I don't want to geek out so much on the finance side, but for example, a Western type of insurance, if the person insured does not die, the insurance company keeps the money. But in the case of takaful, which is like Sharia compliant insurance, if the insured does not die and stays healthy, the returns get distributed to the community. So it's good for everyone, the insurer, the family, the government. And so we feel like halal should be for all. And there is a special role, I feel, that Tatarstan and Kazan can play a role in it. The largest Muslim country in the world is in Southeast Asia. And congratulations, Indonesia. They're now the newest member of BRICS. And a lot of the narrative for halal will be coming from Southeast Asia. And we look forward to working very closely with Tatarstan for that. Best Bulderabis.
Yeah, and I wish that considering experience of exploring like Tatarstan and Nizhny, we can open new regions of our beautiful countries to global digital majority leaders. So maybe in Far East, in Siberia, if there will be more activities, that would be very great.
And I want to eat Kamchatka crabs very soon.
We like it too.
Like it, so yeah, it's, let's consider it. Everyone is thinking, when we speak about Russia, everybody thinking about Moscow and St. Petersburg because these two cities, or Kazan, three cities, they are the most developed and most recognized in terms of arranging international events. But you are correct. We have a lot to see and a lot to taste. But extra preparations needs to be done because connectivity and logistics might be challenging, even with Nizhny Novgorod. So it took some efforts and for you as well, just to get to Moscow first and then to Moscow get to Nizhny and same way return back. So it could be complicated. But yeah, I agree with you. The more we discover each other, the better and more let's say, reliable cooperation we can create because we understand each other better.
Especially Far East region, like geographically and economically is more integrated into like Asian space next to Japan, next to Korea, next to Southeast Asian countries, which is the most fast developing economies now in the world. So I really wish and see the great potential to integrate like Vladivostok because they have also their own technology ecosystem there.
But we have this Eastern Economic Forum.
We couldn't even get flights.
Yeah, connectivity is
I
still
wanted
an
to go
issue,
last September. We couldn't even get flights.
No flights?
Hard to get flights.
It was hard to get flights.
Need to book in advance, yes.
Yeah.
Wow. So demand is higher than the proposal.
Absolutely.
But what I understood now, what do we have? This world is much more interesting than previously it was. A few years ago, it was much more boring than now.
I agree.
When global majority began to play its role.
Absolutely. Look, you now have India standing up, Nigeria. So in idea, there are, of course, everyone is important, especially the smaller market you are, the more important you are for us. When we had the opportunity to send and honor members last year in New York, we sent someone from Laos, right? But having said that, in our region, we have the big four: Brazil, Nigeria, Pakistan, and Indonesia, all with an average population of 200 million to 2.75 million. So altogether, just these 4 countries comprise 1 billion. So we are a great market for technologies, for investments. I remember when I had a talk with the Bank of Russia in a panel, they were saying, it's not good to have too much money in the economy. I said, yes, invest it in these 4 countries. There is a large credit gap of close to 300 billion US dollars. We are net borrowers, not because we're poor, but because we are smart enough to know we can use other people's money to our advantage. So all of the surplus capital, surplus income here in Russia, go and plow it back to those regions, either through alternative lending, wealth tech technologies, investing in startups in those regions, so we can cooperate together even more.
Yeah, but for this we need to shorten that cultural gap, because it's a certain way we understand each other better, and such platforms and forums is really important when people can meet in person and really exchange and pre-plan some project to work together on.
Okay. Let's go back a little bit to technologies, because this is the topic which I'm very focused on. Our regions and the regions IDEA cover, your association worldwide, regions are different. But there should be some core stack of technology that can be widely accepted everywhere.
Yes.
Could you name a few of them?
Absolutely. First and foremost is payments. Financial technology is very important. We need to encourage more cross-border cooperation when it comes to payments, right? Of course, you have the SWIFT system, which is one alternative, but we also need to create alternative rails, ideally on blockchain, ideally on-chain, because like I said earlier, and as what Dubai and Hong Kong and even Brazil has shown, the new language of the youth is actually in crypto, of the global majority. The top 3 biggest markets for crypto use is in Vietnam, Philippines, and in Nigeria, followed closely also by Brazil. Why? Why is this important? Payments. Most of us in the global majority actually work overseas. We are immigrants, right? What powers Dubai? Pakistanis, Filipinos, Bangladeshis, Indians, right? They all have to remit money, right? So we need to find less friction so that we can save more money and not put it back into the system. So payments is very important. Cross-border trade, right? I love how Russian men are very sweet. They always give flowers. Hello, Mishka. So it's true, right? And the cut flower exchange between South America and Russia is huge. From what I understand, between Brazil and Moscow is close to 40 million US dollars, or maybe 1.5 billion rubles, right? Just between those 2 regions. How do we facilitate the payments? Cross-border payments. So that's one. The second is health tech. Right? So if you have fintech, the next is health, because the very same technologies that we use for the financial services, like digital identity, storing your health credentials, payments, are the same technologies that we can use for health. Right? So we need that in the global majority. And then I think another area that we need to focus on is the importance of gamification, esports. Here I go again. They'll really think that I favor Tatarstan, but you know how Kazan, I think 2 years ago, hosted Games of the Future. So it really brought the esports world together. And you're probably wondering, why should we care about esports? It's because this is actually what the youth wants to do and prefers to do. And more importantly, it's bigger than Hollywood. It's bigger than Bollywood. So there's a lot of money.
Even bigger than Bollywood. I thought it's
bigger than Bollywood.
Yeah, Factory of Dreams is huge.
esports is, and that's how the youth talk to each other. And I think, yes, youth, health tech, fintech, and then there are many others. I can, of course, talk about AI, but AI is embedded in payments. AI can be embedded in agriculture. And maybe last but not the least is digital identity. Many people are poor, not because they're poor, but because they cannot identify who they are. Right? You know how the United Nations, they spend close to 70% of actual aid in just identifying people. How do you know that the right... Yes, my friend.
I didn't know.
We didn't know. Yeah.
So, because how do you know that this person deserves to receive the grant or deserves to receive aid? So it's digital identity. And that digital identity, something that you guys do very well here in Russia, something that India does very well through Aadhaar, hopefully it can be shared with the rest of the world.
Yeah, sometimes the services we used to from the birth in Russia, like government infrastructure, government services, medical
Smart
insurance, smart cities, access to health for the other developing countries is not available.
It's science fiction.
My personal experience living in Southeast Asia or visiting Africa, so it's really hard to get those, and it's very expensive to go, for example, to private hospital because government couldn't, not everywhere government could manage to build proper and decent infrastructure and facilities for people. So that's why they can learn a lot of things from what we have here. And but it's for Russian people, it's sometimes hard to imagine that you don't have what we have by default.
Yeah, because for us it's let's say our current reality. For someone far away, it could be like science fiction.
For us.
Even during this Global Digital Forum, I was watching two different speakers and guests, and I came to my personal profound realization that for some people, even high-profile people, like on the level of let's say deputy ministers and advisors to the top officials, for them everything they see there in exhibition is a next century.
Yes.
So they are not actually ready yet. They want it, but also they need to remove this gap in order to prepare their societies infrastructure to bring new technologies. Otherwise, they will not work. Especially if you want to bring something that requires cheap and fast internet and you don't have it, how are you going to force this technology to be used? It's impossible, right?
So that's why it's important that one of the things we work on together, hopefully as an output of Global Digital Forum, is how do we run relevant pilots and sandboxes? How do we take technology that's already available or common fare here in Russia or in other regions like China or India, and then either lend license to the rest of the world, right? Now, you said something about, okay, so we're ready to receive the technology, but at the same time, startup enablement is important because we also don't want to be fully dependent on, say, just Russian or Chinese or American technology. Startup development is important so that while we're learning from those who are net exporters of technology, we can also develop our own, right? So it has to be a two-way process.
Definitely. This is any cooperation, any communication is a way with two strips movement,
Yes.
in and out. Otherwise, it won't work.
Then we create a new level of neocolonialism, which we don't want.
Of course, we are trying to get rid of it.
Yes, that's right.
So, and it seems that you are, our esteemed guests, are full of optimism.
Optimism and hopefully projects we can do together. So I like forums. I appreciate the exchange, but at the end of the day, we have to land one or two projects that we can do, whether it's, say, with Namibia or with Nigeria, or even in, say, for example, Congo, right? So I think that's what's very important. It's what do we do after, right? I don't want to just be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and optimistic about it. Now we have from now until the next Global Digital Forum to prove that there are things we must do together.
You have some home task to do.
Yes, absolutely.
And we too as well.
Yes, all of us.
All of us.
Yes.
who is a part of IDEA.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. It was a very interesting and I think very fruitful discussion with you.
We were very glad to see you in our studio.
Very happy to be here. Really, really very happy to be
We
here.
will stay optimistic, and of course, we want to continue communication, cooperation, and to make together our more, let's say, brighter future than we have now.
In
Absolutely.
multipolar world.
Multipolar world, exactly.
Multipolar world. Thank you so much.
So, Christina, Alexander, see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Inshallah. Thank you.
Next
Thank you
year,
so
definitely,
much.
in
Yes,
person as well.
definitely. Or hopefully this year again. Yes.
We'll be waiting for you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Zvezda Holding presents Dynamic Spectrum Talks. Now.